church one that there used to be Reverend Davis one. I think when you came, he was Reverend Davis. He was older church man, and he died. And I guess I just never forgot that as a young girl how they locked him out of the church put the chains on the door, cause he up there running around with the sisters, other husbands, other women, other husbands' wives in the church. Now that's why I say, you know what? They can't put nothing past me when it comes to no church and no pastor, no deacon, or nothing, because they actually locked him out of the church. That's back in the day they did that. Nowadays I don't know what they do. I think
now
they
they
throw them out.
getting shot in church. People shooting up in churches, and it's getting crazy.
Really? See, that was
the
back
news,
in the day.
you know, people they shoot out. You mean?
We did a lot of things. We did a lot of things when I was young and going to church and stuff. Like, you know, we was all like in the young women's and the Y and the BTU and all. I don't even think they really even have that no more.
They don't have BTU anymore. They
See?
don't. And see, and
Why the young women's?
Our church, the way he done, he had Bible classes on Tuesday night, all that kind of thing. Well, this is when you study. But if it's not an organized, I mean, people don't change. We have not changed since creation.
No,
we need structure.
Yeah,
right.
We need direction. I'm not going to do it just because it's right for me to do it. If I would do that, then I wouldn't need to go to church. I just go home and do it on my own.
Right.
So if I come here, I'm looking for structure.
Yes.
I'm looking for direction.
Yeah.
And you stand in the pulpit and you need to do this, but you have no structure for me to do this.
They used to talk. He talked about with money when I went to that church that day and what they needed. But you know, I just remember that when I was a young girl, we get our little Sunday school books on Sunday, and we do. Mom have us sit down and do a lesson and go in the Bible. For when you went to Sunday school on Sunday, you knew what the whole lesson was about, and we all had something to put in. I don't think they do it like that, like they used to, because the books cost more or whatever.
Well, they still have Sunday school.
They still
have Sunday school, and but nobody's going now. At First Baptist, we have an early morning service from 9 to 10.
Oh, that's where you
Sunday
go
school
to.
is from 10 to 11.
Oh, they changed the time. It used to be 9 and for Sunday
Yeah, it used to
school.
be
years
9,
ago.
9:30.
Uh-huh.
But when you have an earlier service, now a lot of churches have service start like 7:30, 8 o'clock, have an early service. And there are some people that have 3 services in those Sunday school. They have, 8 to this, and
That's like the Catholic people used to do years
Yeah.
ago. Baptists
all
never
you
did
do
like
is
that.
in church, and then
You just be in church
you get
all
your
day.
training during the week.
Oh.
And BTU is just out. They don't even have it anymore.
Do y'all still have the night service
They don't
still?
have night service anymore.
Isn't that
The
something?
time
that
we
is
have
such a
night
long-
service is when it's a special service.
And they have.
When I first came here, we started at 9:30 with Sunday school.
Yeah, we'd be in church all day.
At 11 o'clock, you had morning service.
And then
At 3:30, you come back for an evening service.
Mm-hmm.
At 6 o'clock, you come back for BTU and go out of BTU right into night service. And then me and a girlfriend of mine would leave there and go to, there's always a quartet, this was a big city for quartet singing. We would leave this
go sing some,
and go to a quartet singing and then sing the rest of the night.
I think it was more structured
so
then.
many good musical groups in this city, and
yeah.
you could always find a good quartet.
So that's like 5, 6 times.
No, you just know
on
you
one
started
day.
church at 9 o'clock. You just knew that when you started church at 9,
Uh-huh.
when the afternoon service would be over about 2 o'clock, you had time enough to go home and eat, and then you come back for night
Back at 3 o'clock.
for the 3 o'clock, or if they had a program, or come back at 6
o'clock.
o'clock for, and then that did. But they just don't do it like that no more. I guess.
BTU is what?
BTU
Baptist
is
Training
Sunday
Union.
School. Sunday school is teaching.
Baptist
BTU is
training. Yeah, Baptist Training
You learn
Union.
about the structure of the church, and you learn about all the different offices of the church you're supposed to be doing, and all that stuff. In Sunday school, you're just supposed to learn the word. They're teaching you the word. You come back to BTU and learn how to use it. And that's pretty much.
Yeah, it was good. I remember I used to.
I wonder how many people you ask today. They couldn't tell you. I'm like.
I don't know. That's how I learned the book of the Bible, because
Anybody over 50, unless you're over 40 or 50 years old, you wouldn't know anybody.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I don't even remember even going to the churches. Like I remember in California, they come and get you on a bus.
Yeah.
And you go and they have they had their own. It's like a whole
They had
compound.
children's church and everything.
Area for the kids, and they got the big.
Yeah.
Everybody goes, and then you have the main service. Everybody goes to their own Sunday schools, and then you got the big service after everybody goes, because you had the kids in one school, then you had the teens, they had their own. Sunday school.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
then
That
you
was they
had-
was changing, but yeah, they still had the same thing. But I don't know. That's why we used to like that. Like that's why I asked about the Baptist conventions, because when I was young, when you had the Baptist convention, we used to take. That's how I learned the books of the Bible. We used to have a list of scripture you learn, and you compete against other churches.
Oh yeah, the
Remember?
Bible drill.
Oh yeah, I
was
was in that. I was in that when I was a young
the
girl.
Bible drill.
Yeah, the Bible. Yeah, you go and you compete against other churches. You had to know the verse and where it was found. You know, Matthew, whatever
And
it
they
was.
could give you, like I said, John 3:15.
You had to know, yeah. For
What
God,
that said.
well, John 3:16 is
I
for
would
God so
repeat a
good. Yeah.
scripture and you tell me
Where it was found.
Yeah,
Yes, I was in that. But
And,
you learned a lot then too.
Because in church at home in St. John,
Mm-hmm.
that's in the country, we had Sunday school in BTU, but convention, they did the state and district, but when
Yeah,
too many
never
of at that
went.
time going to national,
Mm-hmm.
and Reverend Nelson
I was
would
nervous.
take a minute before he go into his sermon, and he would throw out a question,
Mm-hmm.
and he would even ask you to repeat. And of course, I always had all the answers.
But see, that's why I learned the
But
books of
I
the Bible.
never forget, he
Mhm.
asked somebody for the Beatitudes. And even the adults, no adults
No,
stood up,
yeah.
never.
Mm-hmm.
And I stood there and repeated those Beatitudes, and I thought they were going to send me to heaven right there.
Yeah, I used to.
But I had a photostat memory. If I read something once, I remember.
See, I couldn't do that, but
You
I
said
learned.
B82?
Hmm.
What is that?
Beatitude.
It's a
blessed
the
man who
meek,
walketh
yeah,
not in
and blessed
counsel
are
of
the
God.
meek, shall they shall see. Oh, she might-
Blessed are the meek, for they shall
Just
be
earth,
Blessed are the
mhm.
peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they who do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are you when men shall revile you and say all manner of evil against you. Be not dismayed, for
whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I just know that
Whatever,
those are
yeah.
not. I didn't remember them, but I know the blessed. I know that part, but I didn't know the whole thing.
And so what's that come from?
It's
It's
in
in
the,
Matthew 6
Mhm.
chapter.
Okay, so but it's in one chapter, they're not different chapters that's coming
No,
from.
it's
just in
Beatitude.
one chapter.
Yeah,
It's just like the Lord's Prayer. You know,
yeah,
Okay.
like
it's
the
in one
Lord's
chapter.
Prayer. I know the Lord's Prayer and all that.
Mhm.
But I remember that too. That's the reason, and the reason why I learned like Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Number, Deuteronomy, the Bible was because sometimes you had to know the books and what they came in, because you didn't look in the back to find the page. You just knew
Oh, you
knew it by
know what
heart,
to look
and you
for.
just know. Oh, I done passed in that. That's how I learned it.
So you
I
learn
never
all the
could.
books.
I never could do the New Testament though.
Genesis, Exodus,
I got that
Leviticus,
part.
You got that Matthew, Mark,
Yeah.
Luke, John, Acts, Rome, 1st, 2nd Corinthians, Ephesians.
And that's, I
Galatians.
could never get past that. I just had to do it. But I know
And that's when you start into that, I get a mix like Ephesians
Yeah.
and Galatians. I get the
Yeah.
mix of which one comes first. but I know
Ecclesiastic
they all
first, whatever, second, or something. Oh,
Ephesians,
yeah.
Galatians.
See, I never
Philippians,
got that. I didn't get that.
Uh,
But I got the New Old Testament.
yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
But
but-
it's 14 books right there written by Paul. And
Mhm.
I kind of twist them up there a bit. 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, 1st and 2nd, 3rd.
Jeremiah. See what? Are you remember that? But I
All
just
that's in the Old Testament.
isn't that something else? And that's why I remember that, because I did that, and I did that. I'm kind of nervous. I remember we did it in Los
But you know,
Angeles.
most
Mhm.
children,
Are
the
they?
church that they go to,
Mm-hmm.
those kids, you know, and this is kept 5th grade and under. Those kids learned all that over there. And little Aiden,
Mhm.
3 years old, can't talk.
But he can.
Johnny, she said, show Gigi Genesis, Exodus. He couldn't say Deuteronomy. You should have seen him trying to get out Deuteronomy. That was a thing. But he knew them.
That's good.
But the only problem he had was getting out Deuteronomy. That
That's
was so
good.
cute. And I said,
That's good though. They don't do that no more though. That's
that-
the thing. That's good.
One thing
That's
that
good.
school did for them. I appreciated that. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, once they took this, I don't know. I guess once they took the Bible out of the school, it just, to me, I don't know. Like the Pledge of
But, you know,
Allegiance. I don't know. It didn't hurt
I
us
guess
any.
I had a different take on that. I don't think I would want teachers teaching my kids.
Right.
If you want, because they may not be a Christian. All teachers are not Christian.
Oh yeah, no,
Now,
yeah.
I don't think they have a right to say you can't have it. If you're a Christian, you ought to be able to do it. but not to insist on each teacher doing that because they weren't Christians anyway.
But, yeah, that
And
part.
then praying is something that you do. I said, I can tell you and look at you and pray, and you don't even know what, because I
Right.
don't say a word.
Right.
Mhm.
So that was bad. But the idea that it wasn't there is what hurt more than anything else.
Well,
Because you mean that you're atheist and you're saying you can do anything else, but you can't be a Christian.
I just think the pet allegiance. We said it for years, and we went to school, and I don't know. I just never
They
thought.
stopped saying it.
I just never. That's what I'm saying. I heard they start saying, but I never thought they made us say it. We knew it.
You had
know.
to say it. It
You had
wasn't
to say it.
necessarily
It was
that
something that
was
you
the
had
sign
a
of your day.
choice, and you just
The
said
day
it,
of your
and
day.
everybody knew it. So and they didn't want trying to take no words out. Then all of a sudden I hear they trying to. But I was like, well, you know what? I'm just glad that I don't have to raise them. My children are grown. That's all you can say. I wouldn't want to be raising children like Tim and the rest of them that got these little babies. I could
Yeah,
not.
'cause they got math all messed up now. They got math all kind of different ways. They teaching the kids how to, you got to make a whole bracket to just do
Right,
a simple.
and you haven't even learned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but you
Right.
know how to put them someplace. After you put it there, you don't know what it is, you know.
That's what, yeah,
And they
that's
were
what we were
teaching,
talking. That's
you
what
know,
we
they
were talking
took
about.
teaching alphabets out. You weren't teaching ABC, you teaching R and all that kind of stuff.
That's what he was talking about.
Yeah,
I said, do they still make them little
They
blocks?
had to
'Cause-
change that though. They had to go back to teaching the alphabets and then going to that.
But you think about it, if, as much as these, well, I have to get Keisha and them and Tony and them, they still was raised up in that age. But these kids now, do you even imagine 20 years from now or 30 years from now, them big guys want to be president? All they can say is OMG and SMH shaking my
I
head.
ain't
And
talking about 20, 30 years. I ain't voting this year. But ain't nobody running this year. I'm serious. I don't know nobody in that running I would vote for.
No.
I'm serious. I hate to say that.
It is, but
I
it's,
hate
it is what
Hillary
it is.
is too old, and
Yeah,
Sanders
Hillary.
is too old.
And Trump is with his sideways head.
I said
he's
when
not
he started
even.
running that he was sent by God to shake up the Republican Party. And that's what he's done. But he's getting a little bit closer. I didn't think he was going to last this long. I just said God, because he's saying things that nobody else would say.
Right.
And nobody else would get away with.
Yeah,
But
but
I
he
didn't think
rich
he would
though.
have the people following him. I thought they would
They would
stop him
stop.
long before now. But he's getting too much.
Yeah, I'm scared of them, the new generation coming because they're gonna be counting on calculators. They can't even count. They can't even count on change.
I know they can.
And which is crazy. You know, if you give them if you give them extra change, they try to like go to a counter or something, they like.
I met a guy here. He asked me. He got $7 worth of gas. He gave the lady 20, and he asked me if she give him back the right change. She gave him 2 5s and 3 1s. And you know what? I'm thinking, you 60-some years old. Are you serious?
Are you kidding?
I mean, I'm serious.
I worked for the Literacy Council where we take people up before night school and all that, and you learn how to read and write, and you'd be surprised when people didn't know. But this young man came in. He was an architect in his 2nd year.
And
He wanted to major in a certain major, whatever he was majoring in, was requiring a lot of reading. So he came to learn how to read.
and he already 2nd
He
year.
had 2 years in college. He done finished going through 12 years.
Wow.
And I'm saying,
How did you?
I need to know, how did you make it? He said, I faked it.
How you fake the SATs? How you get in college?
I don't know.
When I would take, do you have to have SAT?
No, I don't think you
right?
have. I don't know if
maybe
you have
not.
to have it.
I don't think so.
But 12 years.
All right.
And he knew words,
But he just.
but he couldn't put them together and make sentences.
Wow.
And he couldn't form a sentence of his own. You know, if you
Right.
asked him something he couldn't do that.
That's sad too. You know my baby brother. You remember my baby brother,
Yeah.
right? The one that was slow. That's the one that my mama, she didn't want to, but that's the way they used to do a long time ago. I said, Mama, whatever you do, get him something. Get him something before, get taken care of before, because you know he's slow. You know he's not all right. And she had him like doing a change of life, and that's one thing she did do. My brother, he don't have to worry. He gets my dad's Social Security. And he's in a men's home. You know, they don't never do right when they're at home with you, but when they get over there and the white people tell them what to do, they all of a sudden they just, just like my brother. My brother I just found out he just went back to the pen. That's Robert. And you would think he got tired. I told him, I said, you would think that you'd be tired of going.
But after a while they get to a place where in there no different from out here, because they can't live a normal life out here.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's what happened with Charles. Charles been there, and he just
just
So
lies.
in there, it really doesn't make that much difference. They've gotten used to it, and
Three
everybody else know
three
them.
meals
and
in a cot.
so
I guess what
it's hard to think of that
Mhm.
mentality, and I hate to say that little Curtis has really fallen into that
is he?
mentality, because every time he come out, he ain't 5 minutes before
Right.
he's right, and you
All
know
right.
this gonna get you back. So why would you come out and do something gonna put you right back there?
Mm-hmm.
And
In
even
fact, they
though
think they running
The
things
girl
up in
didn't
there.
press charges, he was still on probation.
So
And that's the whole thing,
that's
the
the
papers.
thing.
You
That
just need to
yeah.
finish off punch your whole time. Quit trying to come out early and finish your whole time and then come out, because that's
Yeah,
do
that
anything.
makes sense. But if you're going to get that privilege,
Right.
then come out and do something
with it,
different.
uh-huh.
You got to do something. You can't
Right.
keep doing the
See,
same
that's what
thing,
happened with my brother
expecting
there,
different
though.
results.
He
Right.
meet them girls that my brother, the one that got out, he met the girl, she was on welfare and